Functional rig training, rig exercises, module 1, monkey bars. So monkey bar drills we'll look at are hanging variations, hand shuffles, bar to bar hand walks, grip changes, double bar jump slides and zigzag. So there's a lot of progressions to build up before we start doing monkey bar swings. So the initial thing to evaluate with an individual is what is their grip strength and endurance like. And we do this just by doing simple hanging for duration. This can be done just on the thick bars or the thin bars, but we want to see that they can hold their body weight for at least 35 or 30 to 45 seconds. This can be done with a kind of open grip or a closed grip, which is slightly more difficult, as we see with the. So once we can hold for a good 30-45 seconds, then we need to look to increase that whilst we're performing some core movement. So example of this, we'd get them in this hanging position and then perform double knee raises. We can do it where we bring the knee up to 90 degrees, or as we see with the video in the background, actually bringing it up to the chest, so we're getting a combination of hip flexion and also spinal flexion. Either is absolutely fine, both work particularly well. So this is going to be working hip flexors and anterior core. And like I said, it's a sneaky way then of working and improving the grip strength and endurance. Other variations would include the double diagonal knee raises. So you're going to bring both knees up and across. So we're going to add a little bit of spinal torso rotation to that hip flexion and spinal flexion. And then we have alternating diagonal knee raises. So you're going to bring one knee up and across the body. So again, this is going to be working the hip flexors, the spinal flexors, but also the torso rotators. So it's going to work a little bit more lateral core than just the versions where you bring the legs straight up in front. And here we have hanging torso rotation. So you bring the knees up to about 90 degrees or so, and then you're simply just rotating the lower body from side to side by twisting the torso. Again, this is going to be working isometrically, the hip flexors and spinal flexors, but more dynamically, we're going to be working our lateral core muscle. And a nice variation for the frontal plane, this is hanging lateral flexions. So we try to keep the legs nice and straight, try to limit the movement to purely frontal plane. It's going to bring the legs out to the side, little brief half a second hold. So effectively this is like doing a hanging lateral crunch. So it's going to be working our obliques nicely. And again, we can hold these, or perform these hanging drills in any of the variations. Most of these, as you would have seen, have been done in kind of a supinated or pronated position, but to be honest, any of the positions will work well to improve the grip strength for some of the monkey bar drills to follow. Progression from the leg raises or knee raises is our hanging bar tap. So what we're doing here is we're effectively doing a straighter leg knee raise, but at this point we're actually bringing the legs much further. And the way to do this is you have to use the upper body. So effectively you're pressing downwards, forwards with the upper body, almost like kind of performing a pullover at the same time as lifting the legs up. And we're lifting the feet up to touch the bar that you're holding, or the one in front, or the one in front of that. And you can kind of play around with that depending on how they get on. It is a tough exercise to do. It does require more energy than just simply lifting your knees up or even a straight leg raise to 90 degrees. So it is going to be metabolically more challenging. Another exercise we could perform would include pull-ups with a neutral grip. So here we see this being performed just on one bar. You could do this with a double bar variation as well, so one hand on each one. But yeah, just any kind of pull-ups really where you've got enough head clearance. So that could be pronated, supinated, split grip, this neutral grip on a single bar or neutral grip on two bars. Any of these kind of pull-up variations will work particularly well. as long as you've got sufficient head clearance to do this on the monkey bars. And we can progress some of the more static hanging exercises into more slightly more dynamic actual swings. So here we we'll just swing the body backwards and forwards. This gets us used to having to effectively kind of spin the hand a little bit as we start to do these kind of longer swings. So we'll acclimatize the hand to be able to do that type of movement. So as we start to do forwards and backwards, particularly forward swings, these types of sagittal swings will have a good carryover for that. Lateral swings, effectively a bit of a combination between those lateral flexions and hanging swings. So it's much more dynamic now. We're not trying to hold that end position or do it slowly. And again, this is just going to get us used to the body swinging side to side, which is what we'll get on the following exercises when we start to do kind of lateral hand shuffles. So it's good, hands don't have to move right now, but it gets us acclimatized, particularly the core muscles, for the torso and the legs, swinging side to side, and us getting used to controlling. So once we can hold the body in place, then it's all about starting to move the hands. So you really want to depress the scapula, get some active tension in the back, and then one of the first drills we do are these lateral in-out hand shuffles. So one hand goes out, wider grip, the other hand goes out, and then in and in. So it's out, in. And your legs will want to swing from side to side as you do this. So the idea with this is it gets us used to the legs swinging, and we have to learn through the core muscles to control that swing and try to limit that swing, because that is actually somewhat detrimental when we lateral hand shuffles. So we use this drill when you've got a longer bar or a longer distance you can travel, and we're going effectively shuffling the hands in the same direction. So in this case, Miranda's moving across the gaps. But again, if you have just one long bar, then we would do these lateral hand shuffles all in the same direction. As soon as one hand comes off the bar, you're going to find that the legs, lower body, want to swing from side to side. And this is where the previous hanging exercises, like the hanging lateral flexions and developing strength in those lateral core muscles, will help us to control those swinging legs. Other shuffling exercises. So here we have our double neutral grip, effectively what we call one potato, two potato shuffles. So effectively you are just moving along the bar in this kind of double grip. We call it one potato, two potato to try to limit the distance that you actually kind of reach with each hand. And as you see in this style, as soon as you take one hand off, because of the type of grip that it is, the body wants to swing in a rotation fashion. So this is where the hanging drills, where we've developed the rotation control, will pay dividends, unlike the previous ones where we saw it was more lateral flexion, more frontal plane movement. This can also be done with this kind of neutral grip with a double bar, so one hand on each kind of adjacent bars. And the same kind of thing, we're just doing a little hand shuffle forward with one hand and then with the other. And then, as you can see here, we can also perform the same movement going in a backwards direction. When you're going backwards, just need to make sure that there's sufficient head clearance, so you're not going to bang your head against the frame as you move back towards the end or the edge of these monkey bars. Obviously, we can kind of combine the two as well, going forwards and backwards with each repetition. But we've just kind of separated that for the videos to show the difference. Now, surprisingly, one of the hardest kind of hand movement exercises or drills to perform are these hand swaps. So pretty simple. What we're doing is we're moving from a pronated to a supinated grip and just repeating that motion. You'd think, because we're not really moving the hands any distance, this should be one of the easier ones, but because we are both recruiting different muscles, and it actually takes a reasonable bit of time to kind of change from one grip to the next, more so than maintaining one grip and just shifting the hand forwards, backwards, or to the side, etc. So it actually takes a little bit longer, so you're having to support your body weight on one hand for a longer period of time than we have with some of the previous drills. Again, the body's going to want to swing a little bit, and we need to kind of control that movement as best we can. And then we're progressing on to bar walks. And effectively what we mean here is we're actually kind of moving the hands off one bar and onto another bar. So here we see kind of moving forward. This is the starting progression. So you reach forward with one hand onto the next bar, and then you bring the other hand to that same bar. Again, we're still not at a point where we're doing these long swings that most people associate with doing monkey bar exercises. So onto the next bar in front of you, and then bring the other hand to that same bar. And then we can also go backwards. So once you've kind of gone from one side to the other, some people will turn around and just do another forwards bar-to-bar walks, but you can also just, again, move backwards. Just like we did whenever you move backwards, you just need to make sure, particularly as you get to the end monkey bars, that you've got enough clearance for the head and you're not going to bang your head against the frame as you do that. So again, we're just reaching up and behind you to the bar behind, and then you're bringing that other hand to the same bar and repeating that movement. Then we have sideways or lateral bar-to-bar walks. So you're going to adopt a double grip on one bar. You're going to reach laterally to the next bar, take hold of that with the near hand, and repeat. So you're trying to keep the body kind of sideways onto the monkey bars, so kind of facing in that side-on direction. And effectively you're moving from a double grip on one bar to a double grip on two bars, and just using that alternating pattern to move across and along the monkey bars. Here we see it's being performed nice and smoothly, efficiently. And then eventually we're onto our bar-to-bar or long swings. And this is what most people consider when we think of kind of monkey bar swings. We're going to reach forward with one hand, and then you're going to swing, not take hold of that same bar, but reach to the following bar. So it's like you kind of see with monkeys kind of in the jungle. We're going to swing, do this long swing, and this does require that you can support your body weight for a reasonable period of time just on that one grip. But all the preceding exercises, the bar-to-bar walks, the hand shuffles, and the hanging core exercises are all there to improve the grip and to train the core to be able to control the swing of the body to allow you to do this exercise. Now, one of the hardest progressions we can do, what we call these double bar jump slides. You're holding this double grip on two bars, and effectively, rather than the hand shuffle where you move one hand then the next, you're going to do a small pull up, and then you're going to shuffle or slide both hands along the bar at the same time. It's a tough, challenging drill to do. Really going to be working both the grip and all the pulling muscles very hard. And this is one way of really kind of taking monkey bar drills to the next level. The other one is increasing the time under tension, which is what we'll go through with zigzags next. And zigzag variations, so there's a few variations we can do with this, but the general principle with zigzag variations is unless you've got a really long monkey bar or a series of monkey bars, the actual time under tension can be quite short. So if you're doing kind of bar-to-bar walks, once you've done it 3, 4, 5 times, you're kind of at the other end. So particularly with smaller rigs, you needed to try and find a way of increasing the time under tension for a set in order to make it quite challenging. So what we do here is you're going to combine two different exercises or two different variations in order to increase that time under tension. So the first one, as an example, we might do lateral hand shuffles. So if you see the start position at the bottom left, we're going to do lateral hand shuffles to the right until you get to the end of that bar. Then you're going to do one bar-to-bar walk forward onto the next bar, lateral shuffles to the left, one forward bar-to-bar walk, lateral shuffles to the right, and continue. And again, by the time you get to that finishing point, then you'll have been doing a reasonable degree of time under tension. Other variations, as we see with the image on the right, you may do this kind of with a neutral grip on 2 bars, and we do the hand shuffles forwards all the way to the end. We then may do one lateral bar-to-bar walk, then a backwards double shuffle, another lateral walk, and again shuffle and continue. So variations of that, as we kind of described, you've got our lateral hand shuffles and then one forwards walk, our double bar hand shuffles and lateral walks. We can do the 1 potato, 2 potato, or the single bar hand shuffles with lateral walks, or double bar jump slides and lateral walks, which undoubtedly is the most challenging. And the idea, as we said with this in particular, is to increase the time under tension for the set. That's what makes it really challenging. The other way that it does make it more difficult is this variation of the styles. So if you think of the one that we showed you at the beginning in the image in the background on the left hand side, these lateral hand shuffles and then forward walks, if you just estimate that whole distance and you just did that all as lateral hand shuffles, that would be a hell of a lot easier than the same distance doing it zigzag. And the reason is because you can get into a bit of a rhythm with it and you become more efficient. Whereas the zigzags, you do one style and your legs may be swinging and controlling it in one way, and then you have to change styles, you have to move forward. And it's that rhythmical kind of breaking the techniques that again increases the intensity of this type of variation and just makes it harder. So here we see an example of this. We're going to do 1 potato, 2 potato zigzags with kind of, so we do our 1 potato, 2 potato, then we move on to the next bar. Again, forward 1 potato, 2 potato, lateral walk onto the next bar and continue. And like I said, that is hard to do. It's going to greatly increase the time under tension. In this case, Mark is actually kind of rotating around, so the 1 potato, 2 potato are always forwards, but you could alternate one forwards and then on the next one backwards. And there's lots of little variations or sub-variations of this style. So for the application, the monkey bars, you need to ensure adequate grip strength and endurance using the hangs and hanging core drills. Should progress to moving monkey bar exercises in a progressive manner. And the way we progress it is you start off with shuffles and then onto walks or bar-to-bar walks, swings, and then onto jump slides. So the swings are these kind of long swings, what we'd normally think of as monkey bar swings. Zigzags and those variations will increase both the time under tension and also where we combine 2 techniques and it kind of breaks up the rhythm, that also makes it harder. Different hanging core drills will help to teach sagittal, frontal or transverse plane body control during different moving drills, i.e. shuffles, walks, etc. So some of the hanging drills will be good when the body's swinging forwards and backwards, some of the drills will be good when the body's swinging side to side, and some of the hanging drills will be good to teach the body to control it in rotation. And that's why we try to do a variety of grips and a variety of those hanging core exercises, because it's going to transfer slightly differently to different exercises when we progress onto them. So on the review, presentations, make sure you watch all presentations for this module. For the guided learning practice, complete the guided learning practice for this module, details of which are on the learner management system. Practice the exercise yourself so you're happy with the techniques, and then also practice coaching the exercises to a colleague so you can look to get across the key information. You then want to also complete the guided learning submission for this module. And then the review questions, make sure you complete the review questions for this module to ensure you've met the learning outcomes.